Okay, welcome to my second video about drawing your subject and planar analysis, analyzing the planes of your subject. So this is a drawing of a stag that I did about 2 or 3 days ago now. Clearly has this very interesting antler structure. So what I did in this drawing is that I'm working from a photograph, but I looked at the photograph, and because I have cues to help me understand like where the top of the head is and the sides like this. So I did this rendition of the actual photograph in this simplified way, and then this is going to help me understand how to come back in and add texture, like fur, on another drawing that I'm doing based off of this, a much larger one. So I wanted to start here because I just want you to see sort of the direction we're going in here. So I am going to draw another stag. So I'm going to draw a deer. It's a taxidermy deer, shoulder mount that I have in my studio, my drawing area. So I just took a photo of it from this angle. Um, my plan is to go ahead and install or upload that next to this video, so you can see what I'm drawing from. Okay, so we're going to draw this as simplified forms. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to block out sort of the whole shoulder mount, the whole deer. So just really big, basic shapes. That I'm going to come back in and refine later. I feel like I'm a little out of practice with this. Usually I'm doing a lot of demonstrations in my classrooms. I'm doing this like 2-3 times a day, every day. But as we're working remotely during the pandemic, it's just me in my studio recording these lessons. So I feel like it's a little difficult for me to draw and talk right now because, as I've said, those are two very different parts of your brain, and they compete for attention when they're happening simultaneously. So if I get a little spacey, uh, please bear with. So I'm still just coming in right now and just kind of giving myself big shapes. Um, Antlers, of course, require a little bit more attention. I have not erased anything yet. I want to come back in and sort of clean everything up all at once. Uh, as I've said early on in the drawing process, people rely on their eraser a little bit too much. So, uh, but I have put that here in the wrong place. So I'm going to come back and correct that. So always, don't be afraid to correct your work. Even if you're 5 minutes into a drawing or something, 10 minutes into a drawing, 30 minutes into a drawing, if it's wrong, it's wrong. That's still wrong right there. Okay. Okay, so now I've kind of mapped out the big shapes. I'm going to come back in here and begin describing these shapes inside the big shapes a little bit more clearly. So what I'm doing here is looking at my subject, and I'm looking where the first shifts in the direction of the surface. So when when the neck shifts from like this side to this side, then I'm just going to demarcate that with a line there that's going to describe a different. That's going to say this is where the plane of the surface, plane of our subject, goes in another direction. I use a lot of different metaphors in my class to help people sort of visualize what it is we're doing here, or most of the time. Right? So one thing that I tell people to help with this process, because it can be a difficult one for people to wrap their head around. That's why it's in a class, college level class. But if you imagine that you're, say, uh, creating like a crystalline version of your subject, that sometimes helps people to understand what it is that they're doing, what we're supposed to be doing here. Or like if you're building them maybe out of wire, all these lines are different wires. That's something that helped a few people visualize this. One thing that's important to note is that this is not like, don't think of this as like a stained glass uh, type drawing. That's one thing that I see students do a lot. They just start putting sort of random shapes uh, in their drawing that don't really correspond to anything that's going on in their subject. I don't accurately correspond to it. They'll just like throw a triangle right here. And while we are using, more basic geometric forms, they all need to correspond to a shift in plane. A shift in the plane. Surface is going to go moving in a different direction there. So one thing one thing that's really useful uh, about this is it really helps you understand, like make you think about what's going on in the interior of your subject. What's going on beneath this fur. What's making these shapes. Every shift in direction, every shift of the plane has a purpose. Describes your subject, some aspect of their internal structure. Okay, let's see, where are we at? 10 minutes. So I have about 5 more minutes to work on this. All these videos have to be 15 minutes or shorter, so I can't go past 15 minutes. So again, I'm just looking at this deer, and so this mark that I made there, this line, this is describing the top surface, the top plane of the head, and here's the shift where it goes from top to side here. Clean that up a little bit. So I don't know if I'll have time to really get into the antlers on this one, but once you have a solid grasp of this technique, it really helps with complex structures like antlers and horns. There's a goat called the markhor that has these beautiful spiral horns. And the first time I saw one, I was just like, I was blown away. Uh, both by just how beautiful the animal is, but also how complex the horn structure is. They're huge. Um, Great challenge to draw. I've drawn them a couple times, but for something like that, being able to take the time and really think about the how to how to break those complex horns into simpler shapes goes a long way. Let's see. So this part, it's oval. This large muscle sort of bulging out. So of course, this deer mount that I have is just fur draped over. It's probably a styrofoam structure. But so here, where this bulge indicates, where a group of some large muscles would be in a deer. We don't have to just keep all our lines nice and straight. We can add a curve to them. Do a slight curve. Let's see. Come back in here and clean this up a little bit. Add some clarity. Okay. Let's see. A few more minutes left, so I'll just, again, gonna redo some of these lines, darken them up, so you can see clearly what's happening on the screen. So one thing that I'm doing that you can't see is that I am looking up at my subject constantly. So every few seconds I'm looking up and checking to see if the lines that I'm making are referencing what I see correctly. So here's the front of the snout. Then this line indicates the going back. Here it is, coming under like that. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit more work on this maybe. I see that I'm at the 15-minute mark. So I'll draw a little more, and I'll take a picture of it. But there we go, planar analysis of a stack.